Before we begin, we are a small channel on the path to 1,000 subscribers. If this kind of content interests you, subscribe now. It takes 1 second and makes a real difference. Now, let's go. Close your eyes. Feel the cold. Not the clean cold of winter air, but something heavier. The kind that seeps through stone walls and settles in your chest like a warning. You are about to cross a threshold that has not been opened for over 500 years. Beyond it lies a world the history books barely dare to describe. Not the sanitized version you learned in school. Not the Hollywood vampire with the cape and the accent. Something far worse. Something real. We are entering the 15th century. Southeastern Europe. A sliver of land pressed between the Hungarian kingdom to the north and the Ottoman Empire to the south. A territory called Wallachia. Zoom closer. Past the Carpathian Mountains. Past the dense forests of oak and beech that cover the hills like dark fur. Down into a valley where a town sits along a river. Târgoviște, the capital. And there, behind the walls of the princely court, inside a room lit by tallow candles that spit and hiss, a man sits at a wooden table. He is not tall. His eyes are large, dark green, deep set, the kind of eyes that do not blink when they should. His lower lip is thick, almost swollen, giving his face an expression of permanent displeasure. He wears his black hair long, past his shoulders, and a fur-lined cap sits on his head like a crown that refuses to be regal. Forget what you think you know about this man. Forget the fangs. Forget the coffin. Forget the garlic and the crucifix. What happened here was not fiction. It was governance. He is the voivode, the military governor, the prince of Wallachia. His subjects call him by a name inherited from his father, Dracula, son of the dragon. His enemies call him something else, Kazikla Voivoda, the Impaler Lord. What does the air smell like in his court? Can you hear the crackle of those candles, the scratch of a quill on parchment as a scribe records the day's sentences? Can you feel the uneven flagstones beneath your feet, worn smooth by the boots of soldiers who have learned never to speak unless spoken to? Today we step inside. Before we go further, let me show you how we know what we know. The details of Vlad's reign come from 3 main streams of evidence. First, the German pamphlets, printed between 1488 and 1500 in cities like Nuremberg and Strasbourg, using the newly invented printing press. These were the tabloids of their age, bearing titles designed to horrify and sell. Second, the Skazanie o Dracule Voivode, the tale about Voivode Dracula, a Russian manuscript attributed to the diplomat Fyodor Kurizin, who traveled to Hungary in the 1480s and collected 19 separate anecdotes about the prince. And third, Vlad's own letters, especially the one dated February 11, 1462, addressed to King Matthias Corvinus of Hungary, in which the prince calmly lists the body count of his Danube campaign with the precision of an accountant. A 2025 study by historian Hari has further clarified that many of the massive impalement numbers were exaggerated by sensationalist 15th century reports, and that impalement was used as an exceptional tool for exceptional situations. These are not fairy tales. These are records. Now, back to Wallachia. Imagine dawn breaking over Târgoviște. The year is 1459. The sky turns from black to iron gray, and the roosters of the town begin their overlapping calls. Smoke rises from the houses, not the smoke of war, but of bread ovens being fired, of porridge being stirred in iron pots over open flames. This is an ordinary morning, and that is precisely what makes it terrifying. Because in Vlad's Wallachia, ordinary mornings are built on fear. Walk through the central square. There is a fountain here, and on that fountain sits a golden cup. Not hidden, not guarded, not chained. A cup made of solid gold, left in the open for any thirsty traveler to drink from. Historical sources confirm this cup remained untouched throughout Vlad's entire reign. No one stole it, not once. Not because the people of 15th century Wallachia were more honest than anyone else in Europe, but because every person in this principality knew exactly what happened to thieves. The punishment was not a fine. It was not a prison cell. It was a sharpened wooden stake, driven through the body, planted upright in the ground, and left standing for all to see. That golden cup was not generosity. It was a test, and it tells you everything you need to know about how this man governed. Look closely now. The morning market is opening. Merchants from Hungary, from the Saxon towns of Transylvania, from as far as the Italian trading republics, are spreading their goods on wooden tables. Wallachia sits on trade routes connecting Central Europe to the Black Sea. Textiles, spices, salt, furs, and grain pass through here daily. The commerce is brisk, the taxes are collected, and the prince takes his cut. Under Vlad, corruption among officials has dropped to nearly zero, not because he reformed the system, because he impaled the first officials who were caught stealing. A foreign merchant from Hungary once left his wagon of gold in the street overnight, on Vlad's direct orders. By morning, 160 florins were missing. Vlad ordered the city searched. The thief was found and impaled. The gold was returned to the merchant with 1 extra florin added by Vlad himself. When the merchant reported the surplus, the prince told him that had he not mentioned it, he would have been impaled alongside the thief. Take a step back. Consider what kind of society this creates. The streets are clean. The merchants are punctual. Crime is, by all accounts, the lowest in the region, but the cost is a population that lives in permanent bone-deep dread of a single man's judgment. By midday, the sun hangs heavy over the princely court. Imagine you are standing in the courtyard, watching servants carry platters of roasted meat and flagons of dark wine. There is a banquet today. The boyars, Wallachia's feudal aristocracy, have been invited. They arrive in their finest robes, fur-trimmed, embroidered with gold thread. They smell of imported perfume and barely concealed anxiety. Every boyar in this room knows that Vlad's father and older brother were murdered by members of their own class. Vlad II. Dracula was killed in 1447 in the swamps near Baltani, halfway between Târgoviște and Bucharest. His eldest son, Mircea, was reportedly buried alive. The boyars who orchestrated these killings believed they would never face consequences. Can you smell the roasted pork? The sharp tang of vinegar used to preserve the winter vegetables? Can you feel the weight of the cup in your hand, the warmth of the wine on your tongue? Hold those sensations, because what happens next at this banquet will echo for centuries. Vlad rises from his seat. His soldiers flood the hall. The old boyars, the ones connected to his family's murder, are dragged into the courtyard and impaled. The younger ones, their wives, their children, are spared death, but not punishment. They are marched 50 miles north to the ruins of a mountain stronghold above the Argeș River. There, still wearing their banquet clothes, silk tearing on branches, embroidery snagging on rocks, they are forced to build a fortress, stone by stone, by hand. Many died during the construction. That fortress, Poenari Castle, still stands. You can visit it today. The stairs leading up number nearly 1,500 steps. When Vlad ordered the construction of Poenari, it was not a military decision. It was a message. The hands that had signed his father's death warrant were now bleeding on limestone blocks. Imagine the afternoon light slanting through the narrow windows of the throne room. A delegation has arrived from the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Mehmed II, the same man who conquered Constantinople in 1453, the most powerful military leader in the known world, has sent envoys to collect tribute. 10,000 gold ducats per year, plus a levy of young boys for the Janissary Corps. The envoys enter wearing their turbans. Vlad asks why they do not remove them. They explain it is their tradition. Vlad nods. Then he orders the turbans nailed to their skulls. This is not a diplomatic error. Vlad spent his youth, from roughly age 11 to 17, as a hostage in the Ottoman court. He and his younger brother Radu were held as human collateral to guarantee their father's loyalty. During those years, Vlad learned fluent Turkish. He studied Ottoman military tactics, their methods of governance, their use of fear as a tool of statecraft. He also watched his brother Radu develop a close relationship with the young Prince Mehmed, a relationship that would later lead Radu to convert to Islam and eventually be installed by the Ottomans as Vlad's replacement on the Wallachian throne. When Vlad nailed those turbans, he was declaring war against the empire that stole his childhood, and he knew exactly what that war would cost. Now imagine evening. June 17, 1462. The sun has set over the Wallachian plains, and somewhere to the south, an Ottoman army of nearly 90,000 men is camped along the road to Târgoviște. Sultan Mehmed himself is with them. He has come to conquer Wallachia and annex it to his empire. For weeks, Vlad has been retreating, burning his own villages, poisoning his own wells, slaughtering his own livestock. The Ottoman soldiers are thirsty, hungry, and sick. Disease spreads through the ranks. The Turkish chronicler Tursun Beg wrote that there was not a drop of water to be found, and the sun was so fierce that soldiers could have cooked meat on their own chainmail. Close your eyes again. It is past midnight. 7,000 Wallachian cavalrymen are moving through the darkness, their faces blackened with soot, their horses' hooves wrapped in cloth to muffle the sound. At their head rides the voivode himself, dressed in Ottoman clothing, speaking fluent Turkish to any sentry who challenges him. The plan is simple and suicidal. Infiltrate the camp, find the Sultan's tent, kill Mehmed, end the war in a single stroke. The attack begins. The Wallachians pour into the Ottoman camp, slashing, burning tents, spreading chaos. In the darkness, confused Ottoman units begin fighting each other. The carnage lasts for hours. But Vlad makes one critical mistake. He attacks the wrong tent. He reaches the pavilions of the viziers Mahmud Pasha and Isaac, not the Sultan's quarters. By dawn, the Janissaries have rallied, and Vlad retreats into the forest. The night attack, as history calls it, fails in its primary objective, but what comes next succeeds beyond anything Mehmed could have imagined in his darkest fears. The Ottoman army resumes its march toward Târgoviște. As the soldiers approach the capital, the men at the front begin to slow. Then they stop. Then some of them begin to vomit. Ahead of them, stretching for roughly 3 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide, stands a forest, not of trees, of wooden stakes. On each stake, a human body. Men, women, children, Turkish prisoners, Bulgarian sympathizers, Wallachian traitors. Some have been dead for weeks. Birds have built nests inside the hollowed remains. The smell, that thick, sweet, gagging wall of decomposition, reaches the Ottoman ranks long before the soldiers can see its source. The Greek historian Leonicus Chalcondyles, writing within living memory of the event, recorded that the Sultan gazed upon this field and declared it was not possible to deprive of his country a man who had such a diabolical understanding of how to govern his realm and its people. Mehmed, the conqueror of Constantinople, the man who shattered the walls of the last Roman Empire, ordered his army to turn around. When Bram Stoker sat in a London reading room in the 1890s, researching a novel about a Transylvanian vampire, he borrowed the name Dracula and a handful of geographical details. But the fictional count, aristocratic, seductive, supernatural, bears almost no resemblance to the real man. The real Dracula did not need to be immortal to terrify an empire. He did not drain blood from throats. He displayed it on stakes under the open sky. When Vlad placed that golden cup on the fountain in Târgoviște, it was not about honesty. It was the same logic as the forest of the Impaled, the demonstration that fear, applied with enough consistency, can replace every other institution of government. When his wife threw herself from the tower of Ponari Castle into the Argeș River in 1462, choosing death over capture by the advancing Ottomans led by Vlad's own brother Radu, it was not a romantic tragedy. It was the final proof that the world Vlad built consumed everyone inside it, including the people he loved. When Romanian President Nicolae Ceausescu honored Vlad among national heroes in 1977, it was not a misunderstanding of history. It was a dictator recognizing his own reflection across 5 centuries. One Romanian priest, asked about the honor, said that Vlad was a good Christian who loved the truth, and if he impaled people, it was just to stop injustice. Take a step back. Look at everything we have seen. The golden cup glinting on the fountain in the morning light. The smell of roasted meat at a banquet that ended in screams. The sound of 7,000 horses moving through the dark. The field of stakes stretching to the horizon, and the most powerful man on earth turning his army around at the sight of it. The printing presses of Germany churning out horror pamphlets that became the world's first bestsellers. and a name, Dracula, that 500 years later still makes people check the lock on the door before they go to sleep. Here is what the story of Vlad the Impaler teaches us. The line between the hero and the monster is not drawn by the act. It is drawn by who survives to write the account. In Romania, he is the prince who held back an empire and made the streets safe to walk at night. In Germany and across Western Europe, he was a blood-drinking madman, the original celebrity villain. Both versions are true. Neither is complete. And that is the most unsettling thing of all. Not that monsters exist, but that entire nations can look at the same man and see completely different things. You live in a world shaped by Vlad's logic more than you realize. Every surveillance camera on every corner, every algorithm that predicts what you will do before you do it, every government that promises safety in exchange for silence. The golden cup still sits on the fountain. The question is whether you would dare to pick it up. If this video made you see the Middle Ages with different eyes, then help us reach more people. We are a small channel on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and every subscription counts. Click subscribe now. It only takes a second. And before you go, leave a comment. What surprised you the most? The golden cup that no one dared to steal? The forest of 20,000 impaled bodies that stopped the Ottoman army? Or the fact that Vlad spoke fluent Turkish and infiltrated the enemy camp disguised as an Ottoman? Write it in the comments. It only takes 15 seconds and helps this video reach more people. Thanks for staying until the end. See you next time.